Welcome to Unity Talks, where the hiring experts of Dallas-based recruiting firm Unity Search engage in lively discussion with successful business leaders to dissect their careers and how they got to where they are today, the obstacles overcome to reach their success, and steps they've taken to stay at the top of their respective fields. So listen in as we provide you with the thought-provoking conversation and ideas that keep industries moving forward.
And welcome back to another edition of the Unity Talks podcast. I'm your host, David Cathey. We have a little bit of a different setup today. I actually really like it. I like this room, so we'll see if we keep doing this room for you guys, for those who are watching online. Okay, so I have to admit something. I think it's probably been, 5-6 months. I determined I'm not going to use any notes on one of our podcasts anymore. You know, it's just going to be a free-flowing conversation. And I'm looking at our guest's background, and I'm sitting there thinking, man, that's good, that's good, that's good. And it became overwhelming to where I actually I literally took his background, I threw it into one of the LLMs, and I said, can you please condense this to where we could get a good 30 minutes of content from it? And so that's what I did. So now I've got this cheat sheet in front of me, and we're just going to be going off of this. And so I'm going to get to, enough of me, I'm going to get to our guest. Our guest is Rodrigo Cruz. Rodrigo, welcome to the show.
Thank you.
Yeah, we appreciate you being here.
Well, I'm happy to be here.
Good. Rodrigo's background, we're going to have him explain a little bit. He's a technology executive. He worked for Accenture for years, has a great career history and educational history. I'll let him introduce that to you here in a second. And then we're going to get into kind of the blend of AI, transformation, what companies should be doing. What does, I saw this legacy drag. I was really curious about what you meant by that specifically. So we're going to get into those things after we allow Rodrigo to tell us a little bit about himself.
Well, like where do we start? Almost 50 years ago, I was born. No. I've been here in the States for 20 years. My career started in Mexico. I graduated from Tec de Monterrey. I started as a developer, and by chance I was invited to go into a training for like what it was Salesforce back in the day. Okay. It was Siebel, and from there I started doing consulting, implementing that technology. So that's been my career, implementation of technologies for the sake of bringing more value to the business, right? Sometimes, and well, here's the fun fact. A lot of the times, it's not even about the technology per se, but it's about identifying all those areas where there is a broken process. I can tell you a story of one time I had a client that we were working with them to implement Salesforce, and their process was, it was taking them 3 weeks to onboard new individuals. It didn't make sense, right? Like it's just an application. You fill it out and then you get approved. And well, it turns out that it was everything was manual, right, in paper, and then they will mail it to this company. The people will type everything into the computer, and from then on, it was back and forth, trying to figure out all the information that it was missing from the form, or that it was incorrect, or like most of the time it was spent there. The best or the worst part is that at the end, they had a dropout of 50% of applications. So even though they spent all that time trying to collect all the right information, it turns out that they were still not. I mean, that was wasted time, right? Yeah. Because you had 50% of your applicants were basically not. They wouldn't get approved. So looking at their process, at the end, they were asking. This was an insurance company. And they were asking for the insurance agent license for the state that they were applying for. That was the last question. But that question wasn't in the application. That question was once they were vetted, and then they will ask for that number. And it turns out that most of the time, 50% of the time, that individual didn't have the license.
Oh, wow.
So I told them, like, well, why don't you ask that? Like that will be kind of like the first question.
Up
right?
on the front end, yeah.
Yeah, like first name, last name,
Yep.
email, phone number, and your license number.
Yep.
And they were like, but no, like that's what I was saying, like that's private information. I'm like, are you sure? Because you can go into the website in any state and see the list of all the individuals with their license number for insurance.
Yeah,
agents, all
it's
the architects,
insurance, it's healthcare,
doctors,
it's
like, yeah.
CPAs, it's engineers.
all that is public information.
Yeah.
Right? So they were like, even like, I was surprised because they were supposed to know their industry, they were supposed to know these regulations, but they didn't. So just by changing that, we remove a big chunk of wasted time. We didn't have implemented anything yet.
Yeah.
Right? We were just changing the process. So a lot of the times, people think that the technology per se, just for implementing technology, it's enough. Right? Like, oh, wait, like we need Salesforce. Why? Like, because everybody has Salesforce. We need SAP because everybody has SAP. And now the trend is we need AI because everybody's doing it.
Yeah. It's kind of that story. I'm going to relate to it with a different story, but before I get there, it's like when you move. When you move, you purge everything.
Yep.
And then all of a sudden, 5 years later, you're going to move again, and you're like, how did I accumulate all this stuff? And you just do it. It happens. So a similar thing, and you're right, because processes get broken or they get put in place.
Yes.
And as your organization grows, processes can get put in place that aren't approved, or you don't even know who put that process in place. And here's the example I was going to give you. I was on the phone with a client, I'm not going to name the companies, and they said, yeah, well, it turns out we were having this issue getting this document and all this paperwork done. It's always paperwork, right?
Yep.
And apparently the reason why was 3 years ago, an intern at the organization who only interned there during the summer listed something as a requirement.
Okay.
And then they're gone. I mean, it was just an internship, and they decided that they would make this field a requirement, and therefore it was creating a log jam, and so it was like, okay, we need to trace back that process. And it was an intern that did it, right? Who had no decision-making capability, wasn't a permanent employee or anything like that, randomly thought this would be a good idea, put it in there, and no one fact-checked it. No one reviewed the work to determine whether or not that should be there or not. And it creates this 5 years of log jam of material that hadn't been pushed through the paperwork. So,
and that's everything, right? Like your organization changes, like you're evolving, right? So things change, and especially nowadays, the speed of change is just ridiculous, right? It's like processes that were implemented last year might be broken now, right? Or you might have to replace them now because a new regulation, because tariffs, because whatever it is happening in the world.
well, I mean, it's great. So I asked you to introduce yourself, and then no. It's great because you're like, I'm jumping right in. Like, my introduction is these are the problems that I solve, and I actually wrote that down because one of the questions I have, I was just thinking of like business operating models. And so I categorized one of these things that you had mentioned, and it says, what happens when you automate broken processes? Because right now, automate is such you want to automate first, and then you can lay on AI on top of the automation. And you led off with, I've got to tell you a story. Like, it's a broken process. Like, companies need to watch out for broken processes.
Yes.
But take us through for a second, because every company has a broken process.
Yeah.
Every company does. When you try to automate without uncovering the broken processes or figuring that out, like, what happens to the organization?
So think about this. Technology makes things move faster, right? AI, it just makes it even faster, right? Like what you're trying to do is basically do more with the same resources or less resources. That's the purpose of having these type of automations, right? You can increase the the number of support tickets that you can run or that you can solve throughout the day. If you have an AI agent or an automation that allows the user to either search or have the conversation with the AI bot about their problem, and then they can fix it themselves, or they can find the solution to their question. Like sometimes it's just a question, and that's the biggest traffic that they have on these call centers for support. It's just a bunch of questions that you could easily ask or search, and you'll find the information. So when you automate things that are broken, what you're doing is just basically speeding the issues, right? Like creating more issues faster. It's the same thing with AI. And if you have a broken process, you have a broken data, it's like you're just going to speed up whatever garbage you are getting today. You're going to get even more tomorrow with the automation or with an AI agent.
Yeah, it's like if I'm gonna get on a bus and I want to head south to Houston, and I get on the wrong bus and I'm heading south. I'm still heading south, and I'm on a bus, but I'm heading to Austin. I'm still going to end up in the wrong spot. Everything else is the same. I'm going to end up in the wrong spot. So you got to make sure to use that old adage, like even people and automation, you got to make sure that you're automating and the right people on the right seat, on the right bus, and you're automating the correct things and not broken processes.
And that's one thing, going back to what I said, technology for technology's sake doesn't produce any value, right? Like you have to have a reason for the implementation. You have to have an objective. You have to have a problem to solve, basically, right?
But would you agree or disagree that we're in this AI race, and all these companies and executives are like, well, we got to do it. And you said it earlier. Why? Because everybody else is doing it. And so you're starting to do things even though you don't know maybe which problem you're trying to solve, or maybe it's not even which problem you're trying to solve. It's we're just going to do it just to do it so we can keep up with the Joneses. So, so are there steps that you think about before you jump in?
So most of the time you need is like think about it, like, oh, we don't know the problem, right? But we believe that this technology will help us improve our processes or improve customer retention, like whatever, right? Like the idea is to identify how or what can you do, or the areas that you can start targeting. It's simple to say, for example, let's say that you have a high turnover rate of customers, right? Like, what is happening, right? Try to figure out the problem. The example that I gave you with the customer support, right? Like there are business cases today that are already proven that AI will help tremendously, right? The AI on its own, it's not going to do anything unless there is humans directing the AI to the right place to solve the right problem. But you need to do some research. You need to do some internal review, right? To say where are we failing, or where can we optimize things, or where are we missing the mark, right? There's many things. Right now, for example, in sales, you have a lot of agents that can recommend or give you information about the person and the company that you're talking to, right? So you can create a better relation with them, and hence have a higher probability of making the sale, right? There are on the finance side, right? Like all these financial analysis, the auditing, like you can now run agents that will, in a matter of hours, will do what it will take an army of accountants for review in a week.
Yep. Okay. So well, I'm just going to go to this question then, because when executives are looking at the company and they're looking at AI, and they're saying, oh, we want to do whatever it is, we want it for this reason. What percent of the time do you believe the reason will result in people losing their job?
So jobs are changing, right? Technology changed everything, right? Think about this. You like go back 200 years when we had the no, it's 100 and something years when we had the Industrial Revolution, right? A lot of people lost their jobs, but but there were other jobs that got created, right? So they evolved. The same thing happened when the computers came, right? The same thing happened when the internet came. So when you start looking at all these points in history, it's like technology is helping human beings to evolve, right? And to focus on the right things. So it's not about, I don't think people should be worried too much about losing their jobs. I think they should be worrying about identifying how can they leverage this technology to bring better results for the organization. So yes, there are gonna be jobs that are going to disappear, but guess what? There's a lot of jobs that are going to be created. Right now, you can see everywhere you go, like you have director of AI and strategy and AI, director of or VP of AI, VP is just like there is so many jobs about AI, about data scientists, and that 5 years ago you didn't see one on the boards. So things are changing.
Yeah. So if I'm an employee, I want to lean into AI and learn it because I could increase the value to my organization. Or if I do get impacted, I'm reskilling myself to be better utilized, maybe in a different company. If I'm an executive, how do I still retain my best people? Let me rephrase that. Some of what I believe my best people, AI could replace that job that those people are doing, and they're really good. I love that team. They produce great work, but this new system that we're going to implement is going to make that team irrelevant for the organization. But I don't want to lose that team because they're all-star performers. So if I know I'm going to be implementing that system in the next 3, 5, 6 months, what do I need to do? How do I need to talk to that team? What do I need to do for those people? Because I don't want to lose that talent.
So first of all, AI by itself doesn't think, right? So you need to have...
Wait a minute.
It doesn't think.
I thought that's what it was supposed to do, right? I mean, it's talking
to itself.
It
doesn't think by itself, right? If you see, like, it's waiting for an instruction all the time. It's not actively generating content just for the willingly, right?
Will it? Eventually?
Maybe like one day. Okay. But like you can create bots that are basically doing just that. But like the essence of AI is not that it's thinking on its own. It's helping or it's creating content based on instructions that it has been given to them.
Okay, so I interrupted you, so go ahead, sorry.
So it's as simple to say, you're gonna need people to train AI, and you're gonna need people to monitor AI. So like maybe the jobs of the job of that team is no longer to actually execute all those tasks, but they still have to train AI, and there will be cases that AI is not gonna know how to resolve. So you always have your automations, right? Your simple processes that will take somebody 4 hours and AI can do it in 4 seconds, right? But it's like step 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. That's it. Like it's always the same thing. It's always the same thing. Those processes, yes, AI can do it day in, day out, at night, on the weekends, whatever, right? So those are the things where you can focus and you can say like, hey, yes, let's remove this and give it to AI so you can have your people focusing on something better, right? When you have processes that are a little bit less clear, right? When you have different branches. You use AI as a recommendation engine, right? Not a decision engine. So in that case, AI will review the information and it will give you a recommendation. Think about today. This is happening in a lot of the medical systems, hospital systems. They are implementing AI as a diagnostic tool, but the AI is only recommending based on all the information that the AI has, is recommending to the physician what is the potential diagnostic and the treatment.
Okay.
Right? So the doctors is still in charge of making the decision. But now you have AI assisting the doctor.
Yeah.
That's not going to change. At least not now. I don't know, maybe in the future. But then you have edge cases that are brand new, right? Like people think that like once you implement an automation, that's it. Like you let it run, you don't have to look at it ever again. But that's not true, right? Like the world is changing every day. Organizations change. Your customers change, right? I don't know, maybe 20 years ago, there was no concept of a mobile app, right? And now, if you don't have a mobile app, and you have a customer-facing service or product, you're nobody, right?
Yeah.
Like you're not gonna get the people. You're not gonna get customers, right? If you're not on social media, you're not gonna get customers.
Yeah.
But that's so things change, right? Like so from that perspective, you always have to think about that. You will never have a situation where it's just 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, and it will always be like that, right? Because there will be a time that process, those steps might have to be changed, right? Because there's a new regulation, there's a new law, there's a new something.
Yeah.
Right?
Yeah, so if I have one of those employees, and it's a team of people, some of those people are likely still going to be on that team. They're going to be providing air cover or governance to make sure that AI is operating as it should to have the maximum impact. That team may go from 6 people to 2 people or 1 person or something like that.
Yes.
You still have 4 or 5 other people because they're talented. You're telling me what we need to be, or what I'm hearing, correct me if I'm wrong, is as leaders of organizations, we need to be showing them there is a career path here.
Yes.
It just looks different. Here are some potential options that we see coming in the future so that we're trying to retain. Because that's the hardest thing, right? I mean, we're a staffing firm. It's like, oh my gosh, we just lost an employee and it's going to take, and when we were paying that person $100,000 a year, and in order to get the same return on someone else who's new in that seat in our organization that's constantly evolving, that's going to cost me $160,000 a year in order to do all of that.
Yeah.
Right? And so we've got to paint the picture that there is a career path for them here.
Yeah. I mean, it's very simple, I think. You just have to be a little bit. You just have to have a little bit of empathy, right? It's like you can just go and say to the organization, we're automating everything and we don't need anybody else, right? Like that's not going to happen. Like jobs are going to evolve, and the fact that AI is a multiplier, right? If you think about this. When you start growing your customer base, instead of hiring more people in your customer support center, you implement AI, but then you still have your edge cases, you still have your middle tier cases that AI is just recommending and not solving, right? So the more customers you have, the more cases of those you're going to have as well.
Okay.
Right.
I got you. Yep. Yeah.
That's
self-propagating.
It propagates. It
yep.
multiplies, right? AI is it's a multiplier. It's an enhancer. So if your organization starts growing, you're going to have more customers. Hence, you probably are going to have more tickets as well.
Yep. Yep. Okay. All right. Well, you clearly know a lot about business transformation. You've worked in that area for a number of years.
Yes.
You clearly know a lot about artificial intelligence and what things are going to look like. Those two things, because over the past 3 years, business transformation has included artificial intelligence, and it's only accelerating. So, here's my question to you from a talent perspective. I'm reading this because I wrote this down earlier for this specifically. What talent do companies need to execute transformation? Like, what do companies need to be looking for in the market? Or maybe it's and where is the talent shortage in the market?
I think the talent shortage right now in the market is on having executives understand how AI works and why AI needs to be implemented and where it can be implemented to bring value to the business, right? That's one area where a lot of executives are missing the point, missing the mark.
How do they learn that? Where
well,
because they're busy, right?
Yeah,
it's like,
they're
oh my
busy.
gosh, I got to run an organization. I've got to do all this other stuff.
That's the reason why these consulting firms exist, right? Because now you basically are bringing a team of experts, right, to solve your problem while you still run the company, right? So there is a lot of companies today that they especially big companies that they actually have internal consulting groups that their job is to basically constantly be evaluating processes, technology to make sure that everything is running 100%.
Okay, so if I am an executive at a company and I'm faced with that problem and there's a talent shortage and I need to understand what AI can solve for me, I am then going to look at consulting firms.
Yes.
Right?
Or create your own group and bring that
and
talent
then
internally.
and the talent pool I'm trying to pick from, if I'm going to do that, is probably one of those consulting firms, right?
Yeah.
So, and what's interesting is when we talk to a lot of executives, at least this has happened recently. They'll say, well, I don't know that I necessarily want someone from a consulting firm because they've never seen the process from A to Z. They kind of parachute in, they do their thing, and then they leave, and then we're still there trying to work on it, right?
Yes.
And so I'm like, okay, well, there's a gap from what you and I just talked about to what a lot of leaders are looking for in people.
Well, this is the gap is the understanding of that, because if you think about it as a consultant, being 25 years doing consulting, I've seen it everything. I've been on processes that starts in A, B, C, and then we stop, and then the client will continue doing the rest, right? Or vice versa, we come at the end. So it's a misconception that the skills of a consultant can only be utilized in that specific little area where they are very specialized. In reality, it's like consulting it's about asking the hard questions and figuring out how to solve the problem.
Yeah.
That's basically it, right? Like I tell my mom how I explain consulting to my mom is like I'm kind of like a doctor for organizations.
Yeah. Okay. I like that. So as you grow in your career, we're almost up on time, and I'm like, I didn't even have to get to any of this. So it's been great. As you grow in your career as a consultant at whatever firm you're doing consulting for, the number of customers that you're assigned to on an annual basis, does it get smaller? So as you were younger in consulting, you may have a lot more customers and you're put on a lot of different projects.
It's actually the other way around.
It's the other way around.
Yeah, it's the other way around. And obviously it depends on the area, depends on the practice. But when you have somebody very, very junior, right? They usually get paired with somebody a little bit more senior, right? And that person is giving them tasks and guiding them, but they are usually in one single project. There are other practices where you're basically doing a lot of little things everywhere, right? So it depends a lot, but in the majority of the cases, the more junior you are, the less clients you're going to have. It starts accelerating once you start growing in your career, where now you're becoming a little bit more experienced, right? And you can start helping other consultants to grow and learn. And basically now, instead of being you the one doing the consulting, you are leading the consulting team, right? And so in that case, you start multiplying yourself, right? Now you can lead 2, 3, 4 teams.
Yep, got it. Okay. All right, so I'm an executive sitting at the table tomorrow with my team. So whether I'm the Chief Human Resources Officer, the CTO, the CIO, the CFO, CEO, CEO, whatever it is, I'm sitting at the team, and we're going to talk about our business and how we need to transform, begin thinking about transforming, begin thinking about catching up in the AI arms race, if you will.
Yes.
What is the main question that I need to ask tomorrow to my peers in order to start thinking down the right path?
I think any transformation, you need to start with a baseline, right? So first of all, the baseline is going to tell you where you are, and it's going to help you define where you will be, or how much change you actually produce by that transformation. Because sometimes you invest millions and millions of dollars, and there is no way to identify if that investment was actually worth it, or at the end you realize that it wasn't worth it because you only impacted the business very little. So one of the things is just you need to start thinking about metrics, right? It's like, where are we today, and start thinking about where can we bring AI, right? So yes, and to be honest, it's not that difficult to search, right? Like, you can even ask AI, like, hey, what are you good at, right? How can you give me examples of agents that can solve business problems, right? And then it will give you a list of 50 examples, right? Things like the one I said, like this diagnostic AI that it's helping physicians to recommend a treatment, or you can have people in customer support, right, as well, or in the sales side. So you can identify that, and then start thinking about where do we think is going to bring the most impact, right? Or the opposite is like, what is the easiest one that we can start working on and have it ready as soon as possible. Okay. Right. So there are two ways of thinking. My recommendation is you think of both, right? So you start small, but you also have a big goal here, right? So you have a North Star, but you start small. You start with the low-hanging fruit.
Okay, I like it, low-hanging fruit. Okay, last question for you.
Yeah.
Should we be afraid of AI?
I will be afraid of not knowing what AI can do and how to use it. So I'm not afraid of AI. I'm afraid of not having the right knowledge to basically utilize AI for me, right? For my benefit.
Me too.
Yeah.
Me too. That's a really good answer. I agree with that answer.
Yeah.
Okay. Thank you so much. I really appreciate you.
Anytime.
Yeah, you just like unloaded a lot of knowledge here. I could keep going because I'm so interested, confused, ignorant about this area, but I know we need it to.
Yeah, it is changing a lot of things, but we have seen this type of change before. We have seen this disruption before with all the different, like say, industrial revolution, like the creation of the computer, the internet. Like, we have seen that disruption before. It's just that we forgot about it, right? So, like, nobody is like, there were companies that were after that period they went down. There were companies that were created, right? That were born out of that disruption. So things are changing, but that's the only constant in the world.
I love it. I love it. Things are changing, and it's the only constant in the world. Thank you so much for being here today. We really appreciate it. This was great for me, fantastic for our audience, and for our audience. Thank you so much for joining us. If you are, again, watching online, I like the setup. It's a little bit different.
Yeah,
I think it's much more conversational. I didn't even have to use my notes that much, so because
I talked a lot.
because it was great. It was fantastic. So we really appreciate your time, and to everybody else,
for having me.
Thank you so much for being here, and until next time.
If you're looking for the next step in your career or the missing piece for your team, Unity Search has you covered. Whether it's finance and accounting, tax services, information technology, or human resources, Unity Search is here for you with experienced and dedicated hiring professionals. Reach out today and take the next step. Unity Search, placing you first.